Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome into a brand new series that I am titling Return to Glory. And what that means is we're going to be playing NBA 2K and we're going to take a team that used to be great and has fallen off and we're going to make them great again. And if you can't tell by the fact that I'm wearing red, I will also just show you. I'm wearing a Chicago Bulls Derrick Rose t-shirt jersey right now because the team that we are taking over is the Chicago Bulls. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. I haven't kept up a ton with the NBA this year. I've been busy doing other stuff, but I know that the Bulls are 18-21. And I know that the Bulls have some things that they need to do in order to get back to their former glory. And the roster they have now just ain't it. I want to lay out some ground rules first before we dive into this series. This is going to be a long-winded series. This is going to be a series where we're not going to simulate the entire season in one episode. This may be a series where each episode is like focused on trading one player and then maybe playing a week's worth of games. I got to be honest with you guys. I don't really know what the Bulls need. I don't know what's going on with Chicago right now. I don't know what's going on around the NBA, but we're going to dive into this rebuild. We're going to take over the Chicago Bulls here in 2025, and we're going to try to return to their former glory and win some championships. The challenge that I'm issuing myself is to win just one more championship. Now, once we win one, if we feel that we can repeat and then three-peat, then we'll try. And we'll try to three-peat the way that they did in the 90s with Michael Jordan. But for now, let's dive in to Return to Glory. All right, so I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not really sure what we're looking at here as far as this roster goes. I know that Zach LaVine probably needs to be moved at this point. Vooch probably needs to be moved as well. Kobe White, he's young and developing. He can stay. I might even move him over back to the point guard and get rid of Josh Giddey. I don't love Josh Giddey. He's on a one-year deal. He's an 81 overall. Don't love him. I mean, I think he'd probably be fine, but I don't see him in the future of this team. Now, guys that it's going to hurt me to move are guys like Lonzo Ball, but again, he's on a one-year contract. A lot of these guys are on 1 years. So if we can move a guy like Zach LaVine and Vooch, maybe this episode, we're just going to focus on trying to find the right trade for Zach LaVine or for Vooch, because I got to be honest with you guys. I think I would like to go into free agency in the upcoming year with a lot of money to spend and try and make a big splash in free agency, because we don't have a draft pick. We got to remember, we do not have a draft pick going into the 2025 draft, which means we are probably going to be out of, we're definitely going to be out of the race for Cooper Flagg. So even if we tank, we don't even have our pick. We have the Trailblazers pick, but it's lottery protected, which means that we probably won't get a pick in the first round unless we trade Zach LaVine for a pick. So I'm going to go real quick to Team Intel, and we're just going to take a look around the league and see. Obviously, Cleveland, they're not going to change anything. Boston's probably not going to change anything. The Clippers, they might. They're right around 500. They might be willing to move something. It says that they're rebuilding, but I got to be honest with you guys. I think that the Clippers, with James Harden at 35 and Kawhi at 33, they need to do something now. Let's just be honest. Memphis isn't going to change anything. They're playing great. Trae Young is a name. Trae Young's a name to think about. Trae Young might be a name that we consider here in the future. Miami, I'm not really going to mess with. I don't love anything about Miami right now, except maybe Bam, but we'll see how things work out for them. Charlotte is a team that if I could maybe get a draft pick out of Charlotte, that would be awesome. I don't really know if I have anything that they would want, to be honest with you, because I could give them Zach LaVine, but they've got Brandon Miller. I don't know that they would want Zach LaVine, but I'm thinking I want to try and get a first round pick for Zach LaVine, whether that's a projected really, really good pick or if it's just a first round pick. I just would like to have a pick in the draft is all I'm getting at. Rebuilding, selling team. Zion Williamson might be a guy that's on the block. I doubt it, but you could always try. They're a selling team. They're 8-32. They're terrible. They might be willing to move a guy like Zion Williamson. Do I want a guy like Zion Williamson? That is a question for future Joshua to answer. Let's see. The Suns are 500. The Suns are interesting. They're a buying team, so they may be willing to buy a guy like maybe Vooch, because Vooch is better than Nurkic, technically in overall rating. But I don't really know. It's crazy to me that the Suns are a 500 team. Like the Suns on paper should be way better than a 500 team. So we'll keep them in the back of our mind. Obviously, OKC's not doing anything. Minnesota's buying. That could be interesting. They don't really need any of the positions that I'm selling, but they're buying. So that's interesting. Wait a minute. LeBron and Ben Simmons are this team's top targets. Could you get any opposite end of the spectrum here? LeBron to Ben Simmons are your two. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. Now they're buying and they need a shooting guard. Now this is an interesting situation because I could possibly sell them a guy like Zach LaVine, and that would make them better, I think. That would actually put them into title contention, I think. But being division rivals, it's going to be one of those things that's like, do we really want... They don't have any picks anyway. Do they even have any players that I want? Not really. I mean, they're old. Everybody on this team's old. I want to try and start a youth movement in Chicago, and they just don't really have anything that I'm looking for here. If I'm being completely honest with you, I want to move Zach LaVine. I want to keep Kobe White. I want to move Vooch. Like, man, just for the story, just for the feel-good story, I want to sign Lonzo Ball. That's going to hurt me to let him walk or to not sign him. Let's go look at contract extensions and see who's even eligible. Zach LaVine is eligible, will re-sign. I don't think we're going to. Lonzo Ball will re-sign. Look, do we just do it? Do we just re-sign Zoe and hope that he gets better? Because I got to be honest with you, it's really going to hurt my heart to have Zoe not on this team. But, I mean, $21 million. I think maybe we go to trades. Let's throw Zach LaVine in a trade finder. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change his... No, that's not what I meant to do. I'm going to change his position back to a shooting guard. Not power forward. Because I think that'll make his overall go up. It didn't. It made his overall go down. Are you serious? All right, well, then we'll leave him as a small forward, I guess. We're going to go into the trade finder, and we're just going to look and see if there's any options for a guy like Zach LaVine that makes sense. Now, Paul George, this one makes no sense. I don't think this makes sense for either team because, I mean, in real life, I think Paul George is the better player. I just don't think this makes sense for either team because then Chicago's taking on that big contract of an old head. It just doesn't make sense. This one makes no sense. Chris Middleton, another old guy with a big contract, is expiring, and then Bobby Portis, another expiring contract, which, I mean, expiring contracts are not the worst thing for us right now because then that would free us up in free agency to be able to maybe make it splash. I mean, I'll think about it. James Harden, this one makes no sense. This one makes absolutely no sense. Desmond Bane, this one kind of makes sense if I'm being totally honest with you. Desmond Bane and John Conchar, because John Conchar can play the 4. He's small, but he can play the 4. I mean, Torrey Craig's a small 4 as well, but Desmond Bane also Desmond Bane can play the 3. He'd be a small 3, but he can play the 3. Now that one I don't hate, Desmond Bane, but I just don't think that either of those teams realistically is going to be making that trade. I keep that one in the back of my mind. OG Anunoby, I don't hate that 4-year, $164 million for a guy like OG Anunoby because he's 27. I don't hate it. I just don't necessarily think that OG Anunoby is the guy that I want to give the bag to. You know what I'm saying? Fred VanVleet, A 1-year deal expiring at the end of the year. I don't hate it, but I got Josh Giddey. I mean, I could just move Josh Giddey to like. Honestly, do we think Josh Giddey could play the 3? I mean, he's tall. Keep Kobe White at the 2 and then Josh Giddey at the 3. Now, look, of all of these deals, the ones to me that make the most sense for both teams, a team like Milwaukee could use a guy like Zach LaVine. And a team like Chicago could use the expiring contracts of Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis, because then that means more money in free agency. Now, the problem is this is where we're going to get into not realistic at all. Okay? That's the issue that we're running into here, is not being realistic. So here's what we're actually going to do. We're going to pull up over here. We're going to pull up some like potential Zach LaVine trades. And we're going to look at some of these and see if some of them make any sense at all. Denver Nuggets are likely the most recent team to inquire about Zach LaVine. So let's go see from the Lakers and the Nuggets, if we're trying to keep this a little bit real, let's go see what we could potentially draw up from the Lakers or the Nuggets. All right, I got to be honest with you. Looking at this Lakers squad and then looking at their picks, I don't know that there's much here that I'm really going to be interested in, because they can't even trade this 26 and 28 pick. They can only give me the 29 first round pick. And I don't want to wait that long for a pick, to be honest with you. I don't know that I'm going to be doing this series into the year 2029 on the game. So I don't know that a 2029 pick is beneficial. Austin Reeves is a guy that's interesting to me, but again, I've got Lonzo Ball that's coming back off injury, who honestly I'm probably going to re-sign. Even if it is a mistake, I'm probably going to re-sign him. And then I've got Josh Giddey. I've also got Kobe White, who can play the point guard. None of these players, none of these names really make a lot of sense to me as far as like the Lakers wanting to get rid of them. Zach LaVine is our best player. So if I'm going to trade Zach LaVine, I want a decent first round pick or a player of the same caliber or close to the same caliber in return. Now, is that too much to ask? Maybe. I don't know. But I just don't think that the Lakers have anything to offer me in terms of either of the things that I desire in this Zach LaVine trade. Chris Duarte. Interesting. We're taking way too long to figure out how we want to deal Zach LaVine here. I think let's go check out what Denver has to offer. And maybe potentially strike a deal with Denver. Now, a guy like Michael Porter Jr., I don't hate, because he's going to be a guy that, I mean, we know what we're getting with him, right? He's going to shoot, and that's about it. We know what we're getting with Michael Porter Jr. He's making a lot of money, but he'd be under contract for 3 years. He's the same position as Zach LaVine. I don't know that Denver is a team that's willing to do something like that, though. I also don't think they have, they don't have any picks either. All right, so here's a deal that just popped up for me from the Oklahoma City Thunder that I don't know if it makes sense in real life, to be honest with you, because Oklahoma City is rolling right now. But they're offering me the Isaiahs is what I'm calling them. Isaiah Hartenstein and Isaiah Joe. Now, I know I don't necessarily need a center, right? I don't necessarily need a shooting guard, right? But Isaiah Hartenstein and Isaiah Joe are both relatively young. They're both under contract for the next couple of years. They're both pretty good for their position and developing. And I could use Isaiah Joe maybe as trade bait this coming postseason. So I'm considering doing this deal solely for the potential that it brings, because I think that these Isaiahs could become very good ball players. Now, the problem that this leaves me with is that I'm going to have to trade Vooch at some point. I wish that there was a better market for Zach LaVine. I really do. I'm not really seeing anything that is just jumping out to me. So what if we, instead of Zach LaVine for right now, let's go look at maybe a deal for Vooch. Let's go see what's out there for Vooch, and then we'll make a decision. Zach Edey would actually be crazy. That trade goes hard. I'm not going to lie. John Conchar and Zach Edey. Memphis, you're speaking to me. Memphis, you're speaking to me. Malik Monk doesn't make much sense. Dude, OG Anunoby is just out here. Like every time I go into Trade Finder, the Knicks are like, you want OG Anunoby? Every single time, I swear. Daniel Gafford would be low-key pretty cool. Miles Turner, I don't hate that. And it's an expiring contract. You know how I feel about expiring contracts. Jalen Duren would kind of go hard. I gotta be honest with you guys. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein, are you kidding me? 2 years, $58 million. I mean, I'm losing money basically at that point. But DeAndre Ayton, 2 years, $69 million. Gosh, give him the bag, why don't you? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think I'm going to go with this Zach Edey trade just because of the youth and the potential here. Because Zach Edey is only 5 overall difference from Nikola Vucevic. And he's 12 years younger. I'm saving money here at the end of the day. And I'm bringing in John Conchar, which I don't love. I mean, Torrey Craig's going out. But I think I'm going to do this deal. I want to see if they have a pick. If they have a pick, I don't necessarily think that they'd give me a first round pick for this, but you never know until you ask, right? Add trade exception. Yes. However, they have a counter offer. Okay, so they love their current roster. They think they're a championship contender, which is weird because they're the ones that offered me Zach Edey. Unless that deal is too good to pass up. And this just isn't that. That's because I added the first round pick, by the way. So let's see what their counter is. Okay, so they want our 29 first round pick and our 25 second round pick, which is unprotected from Sacramento. I think this is a no-brainer. I'm building for the future here. So they're going to give me a 2025 unprotected first round pick, which isn't going to be valuable because they're Memphis and they're good, and I'm giving them a good player to replace their starting center. But I'm getting youth and I'm getting a pick. And I'm giving up picks that I don't really see as valuable to me. So this is the deal that we're going to do. We're doing Vooch for Zach Edey, Torrey Craig for John Conchar, and then pick swaps. So that's what we're going to do here. And then we're going to go over to coaching. And Zach Edey is going to be our starting center and see what we're looking at. See Josh Giddey as the starting point guard. I feel like Kobe White should be the starting point guard, and then Zach LaVine should be the shooting guard, but then I don't really have anybody to make the small forward, if I'm being totally honest with you, because this team's kind of mid. I don't love that Talen Horton-Tucker is getting minutes, if I'm being honest. I love that Lonzo Ball's back and getting minutes. I do love that a lot. I wish that Lonzo was starting, but I understand coming off the injury, everything is just working against him right now. Patrick Williams starting, I like. Jalen Smith, I don't love Jalen Smith, and I may look to move Jalen Smith in the future. But for now, he's totally safe because I think that the next thing that we're going to try to do is move Zach LaVine. So do I love the fact that we just traded Vooch for Zach Edey? No, I don't love it. But at the end of the day, we got a pick out of it, and we got Zach Edey, who I think is going to be pretty good for us going forward. We have technically 2 first-round picks, but the Trailblazers is lottery protected, so we probably will not end up with that pick. We will probably just have the 1 pick, which will belong to the Grizzlies. And if we're being honest, it's probably not going to be a very good pick because they're going to be a good ball team. So, was that trade worth it? I don't know. You tell me. All right, so we didn't really accomplish much as far as the actual rebuild goes, but I think we got better for the future because we got draft picks. We got Zach Edey, who I think is going to end up being better than Vooch, if we're being totally honest with each other. I don't really know where to go from here, so I'm going to do a little bit of research, but hopefully in the next episode, we'll play through some games. This is a series where I do want to play some games. I don't want to just get in and manage everything and then simulate everything. I do want to play a few games, but hopefully in the next episode, we'll play 1 or 2 games with this new roster. We'll tinker with some things and maybe, just maybe, try and make another trade and see where the basketball gods will take us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, be sure to comment, and be sure to subscribe and turn on that bell notification, and we will see you guys in the next one.